You want any more of this cucumber?
You finish it, honey. So you don't love your spouse anymore. Now what? Divorce. An estimated 40% of marriages end in one. So, how do you do it? To file for divorce in Canada, you need to be legally married, either you and your spouse need to live here, and your marriage must be broken down beyond repair.
Babe, I got a whirlin' for today.
Amazing, you're so smart! Now how do you prove that? Well, it depends on what kind of divorce you need. There's fault-based divorce, requiring one spouse to prove the other's adultery, mental cruelty, and/or physical cruelty. But these kind of splits are relatively rare. The most common kind of divorce is a no-fault divorce. That means the dissolution of the marriage doesn't require proving fault on the part of either spouse. It only requires separation. You and your partner need to be living apart for at least a year, minus 90 days if you decided to try and reconcile for a little bit by living together again. Now I know what you're thinking. Great, now we have to pay 2 rents for a whole year before we can even apply to end this thing? In this economy? The good news is that living apart doesn't necessarily mean living in different houses, just that you don't live as a married couple. So stuff like separating your social lives, dividing finances, letting the CRA know you're separated, not filing taxes together, giving a notice to the other person with your intent to separate. You just have to be able to prove it to the court.
Hey, you good, sweetie?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go sleep in the office for a dozen months. Fun fact, before 1968, obtaining a divorce required petitioning Parliament directly through a private act. Couples had to publish their intent in the Canada Gazette and 2 local newspapers for 6 months with no guarantee of approvals. It was costly, time-consuming, and sexist. Men only had to prove adultery, while women had to prove adultery plus another matrimonial offense, like bigamy or desertion. Now I just have to do this. Fill out an application for divorce. Make a copy and file it, along with your marriage certificate, at the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. There's a filing fee, but it can be waived if you can't afford it. After it's filed and processed, you then get a third party to serve your spouse. Let's back up a sec. There's a different way of doing this. Joint divorce. It's when you and your spouse agree on the terms of the divorce before submitting the paperwork together. Terms like spousal support, custody, or property division. But getting on the same page with someone you're trying to break up with can be a little tricky. The papers include the forms that I've submitted along with financial disclosure documents if I'm asking for support or property division, and an affidavit for decision-making responsibility, parenting time, and contact if I'm making a claim for the kids. After it's been filed, an affidavit of service is filed, and the spouse has 30 days to file a response if they're within Canada, 60 days if they're in another country. If they don't file, it's considered a simple, uncontested divorce where your spouse is assumed to take no issue with what you outlined in the document. In that case, the applicant, me, will file an affidavit for divorce along with a bunch of other paperwork, and the process goes along without having to go to trial or settle.
Oh, babe!
However, if they do take issue and file an answer,
Siri, I need a divorce lawyer.
the divorce is considered contested, which can make everything a lot more complicated and expensive. Once your spouse files their answer, you're scheduled for something called a case conference. Basically, an initial meeting with the judge to see if you can reach an agreement without going to trial. From there, you can do mediation, arbitration, or if those don't work and you really can't find common ground, you can go to trial and let the court decide. Obviously, the messier the battle, the more time and money it takes. As of making this video, a joint or uncontested divorce in Ontario costs a minimum of about $700 just in court filing fees and takes, optimistically, a few months. A contested divorce with lawyers involved can cost tens of thousands of dollars and drag out for years. Listen, I know divorces can be emotionally and financially taxing, but bringing in counsel as soon as you decide to go down that path can help you make the legal process way more manageable. Lawyers can help you navigate the system, fill out the paperwork, tell you what documents you need, and protect your rights. If possible, consider drafting a separation agreement with your spouse before either of you start. A separation agreement is a document where you can both outline your agreed terms, making the legal part of everything a lot more straightforward. Remember, the divorce process won't last forever. One day you'll be free to do whatever else you want. Remarry, stay single, another thing. Hey, guy. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks for watching this episode of Knowledge Gap. If there's something else you feel like you don't know as an adult but want to know, leave it in the comments below. See you next time. I eat a pepper chew every day.
Oh my god!
You guys should get married.